Welcome to Wednesday. I had quite a good day yesterday. It was window cleaning day, so new season, new windows. I'm heading over though to a part of the property that caught my eye when I was working outside. And so I thought I'd just take you over there quickly this morning and we can have a look and I can talk about what I'm going to be doing. I'm just heading along a footpath which goes, if I spin round, from the house to our boundary, which is here. That's our neighbour's orchard. This little footpath goes ultimately to a gate in the fence, and just for context, if I carried along this fence line, I'd get to the Mr. Darcy walk and then to the drive. I have maintained this footpath, I've improved this footpath, but you may remember a couple of weeks ago I had mentioned whilst we were away it snowed, and as a consequence I noticed quite a lot of this tea tree which died in the fire has collapsed and as a consequence this footpath is being covered over by all this collapsed tea tree. Basically this is the tea tree that was here previously, or what's left of it, these tall dead sticks. And this is quite a nice footpath actually, because the tea tree sort of made like an arch over it, made like a tunnel. It was very nice. So I'm not the biggest fan of tea tree, but I don't mind it in small amounts doing certain things like that. Anyway, so obviously I'm approaching the end of my bonfire season, so I need to do something about this before I stop having bonfires, because it will just be so much easier to clean this before that comes to an end. But you can see really all that's happened is the tea trees come loose. It's really just worked its way out of the ground, come loose, and then it's fallen over and squashed this tea tree, this regrowth. So I might have to give that a bit of a snip as well, just to get that back. And then the path goes down to where there was a bridge. Can't really get there now to show you. The bridge burnt in the fire. We've got all the equipment we need to build a new bridge, so when we do that I will bring you along for the ride. However, that's something for later. My main goal this morning is to move the woods, the last of the Pomaderris, which is over there somewhere, the other side of the Mr. Darcy walk, from when I was clearing the fallen over trees. I have sort of been putting it off because it is a big pile and I'm not too sure how I'm going to transport it. My ride-on mower currently isn't usable. It's really too far and onerous to drag by hand. Because it's so branchy, it's difficult to get in the car. You can only really get sort of 4 or 5 bits in, and then there's no space for more, and there's, that's trip after trip after trip after trip. So I'm going to see if I can think of a different solution that maybe involves dragging it in bigger piles, but I'm not sure if I've got equipment that will allow me to do that. I'm going to go and have a look and puzzle it out, but I have determined that I am going to, if not finish, at least start that today. As I say, I've been putting it off, but not every task is a task I embrace or look forward to. This is one of them, but I'll be glad when it's done. You can see I'm starting to accumulate my spillover material for my last bonfire. Final push, and then we're back into probably mowing the lawn season. I've come down to the area where the pile is. That's the Mr. Darcy walk. This is our boundary, basically here. This section isn't fenced. We have this internal fence in front of me, which is going to make this job even more unpleasant. But this is the pile I'm talking about. I'm not too sure. The good thing about this wood is that it'll be light. The bad thing is there's quite a lot of it. But if I head back up to the car, I can show you what I've been thinking. Ratchet strap. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to try towing the piles, and I might even be able to do it in 2 or 3 trips if this works. There's no guarantee it will. I don't know if I'll be able to ratchet the piles tightly enough together so that they won't just come loose after about 5 seconds of driving. But I think it's worth a try. So let's see what happens. Well, it doesn't look pretty, but the ratchet strap did work. So I was able to put some of the stuff that was a little bit straighter in the boot, and then behind that tow a little pile of the more branchy stuff. So the principle has been tested and worked, so now I can carry on with the rest of the pile. There we go, just to show you the end result. 2 journeys in the end that took. You can see the 2 piles I dragged, and then these little bits with the straighter bits I just was able to put in my boot. 2022 is about the first year I've gotten into towing things behind my car. And it's actually worked out really well for me, and that's the first time I've towed using the ratchet straps. And that also worked out really, really well. I know you're not getting a sense of scale, but there was just so much wood. I was very concerned about how I was going to transport it and how long it was going to take and the physical effort involved. I'm very, very pleased with that. Add it to the rest of this stuff, and then I'm good to go. I'm in town just waiting to get my hair cut, and I popped into the shop and did a little bit of groceries whilst I'm waiting, and on my way to the shop I noticed this. This is quite an extreme example, admittedly, but it is an example of how things are a little bit different here in Victoria. In Victoria there's no such thing as an MOT. The only time your car needs to undergo any sort of roadworthiness test is if and when you come to sell it, when your car goes for what's known as a roadworthy certificate. So cars can go for years and years and years and years without any attention if the owner so should wish, which is how things like that happen. Not common, admittedly. Welcome to Sunday. What a lovely day. Lovely blue sky, batteries fully charged for the solar system. Bit of a gentle breeze, some warmth in the sun. I've done some wood processing this morning already, taken a couple of trees down, did some splitting because they were quite big trees. And now I'm about to go and do something with this garden saw, which I have been meaning to do for a while, but now's my opportunity. You might notice we made a trip to Bunnings amongst other places yesterday, and I've picked up some stuff for my spring gardening effort, which mostly involves doing lots of fertilising, using my slow release fertilisers and putting some manure around to help mulch the trees, to help them retain water as we come into summer. But this is a different type of project, and I'll take you over there. Now, we have arrived at our destination, which is this. You probably can't see, but this is a hollow. I don't know what made it. I assume maybe there used to be a tree here. In and of itself, not that annoying, but it's right in the way of this footpath by the snake shed up to the house. And it's just so annoying, like forever either falling into it and hurting your ankle or having to avoid it. Anyway, I've had enough. I've got this cheap soil and I'm just going to shove it in there and hopefully problem solved. There we go. That's just wheel banging. All done. I'm just going to leave it like that. I have got no doubt that before summer ends this will be absolutely covered in grass of some sort and weeds. So I'm not going to go to any trouble putting seed down. So I'm glad to have done that. These little tiny jobs that make the biggest differences sometimes. This is something else I picked up in Bunnings. I just couldn't resist. I don't often buy plants from there, but this is a lavender called French Revolution. The flowers looking a bit droopy just because they've been in the cold frame overnight. They've got a bit squashed, but they'll perk up. Hello, Vita. What I liked about this though is just how unusual the leaves are. I love lavenders. I had loads in my old garden. Here I have inherited these two. They're both French lavenders, and I've also supplemented them with this and this English lavender. Admittedly, they aren't looking at their best, but they come into their own slightly later in the year. What I'm going to do now is plant this. I've decided I'd like to put it here. So for context, this is my flower border in front of the house. This is where the donut border is going to go. This is going to be the beginnings of my autumn colour hedge. With my dogwood and my tree. What I have here is my magnolia tree and my lilies I grew last year along the fence. I quite like to come here in the summer in particular and sit on these stones like how Vita's doing. And so I thought this might be quite a nice place to put this lavender, sort of nestled underneath what I hope one day will be a very beautiful, lovely magnolia tree. By the steps, or by the seat, to waft a lovely scent over and obviously attract the bees. So I'm going to go and plant this now. There we go. I always like to mulch around lavenders with a bit of gravel and some stones. This is actually quite nice soil, better than you probably would like, so that's all in an effort to help it impoverish, which is what the lavender is going to enjoy. Plants always look a bit sorry for themselves when they've just been planted. but I'm sure before long this will be looking mighty. Makeshift lawnmower maintenance.
Yeah.
Trailer ramp. New blades, new spark plug, new fuse. You might remember I was showing you, this is the path that goes down to the bridge and our boundary that had been overcrowded by the fallen tea tree. Fell over after it got snowed on. I've completed phase 1, which was removing the toppled tea tree. I've taken that down to the bonfire area. I couldn't really get past it too easily before I had done that, so I couldn't show you the bridge crossing, but that's all done. So now I can head a bit further down for you. You might be able to see here, this is the remains of the bridge. It's a very, very basic bridge which more or less goes over this little gully which goes down our property and into our pond, which is down there. And as I mentioned, if I carried on down I'd get to the Mr. Darcy walk in our drive. These supports probably are okay, but all the treads burnt out and died. We have got new bits of wood to span, and we've also got wood to go across it, which we relieved from the tip. So this project won't cost us very much other than our time and effort. That's for another day though. What I'm going to do up here, now that I've got rid of the toppled over tea tree, is cut the regrowth back a bit, especially where it's been a bit crushed, just to make this footpath feel a bit less claustrophobic, and also just to make it a bit more apparent. As you can see, doesn't look like much of a footpath now, but give me a couple of secs and ta-da! As if by magic. One new pathway, properly demarcated. I do want this tea tree to grow up as it had done before, so that this feels more like a tunnel. So I don't want to push it back too far. I quite liked that effect. But you just need to keep your eye on tea tree. It does get away from you pretty quick. I'm very pleased with that. A very, very quick job that has very immediate and obvious results.